And so we're going to start out talking about some of the people that we've lost, some of the Trek contributors that we've lost over the last couple of 3 weeks. Since the last time we talked, we lost Rene Auberjonois, who played Odo in Deep Space Nine. In addition, he was a regular character on shows such as Benson, Boston Legal. He also played Father Mulcahy in the 1970 film version of MASH. He passed away on December 8th from metastatic lung cancer at the age of 79. So, kids, if you've never smoked or vaped, don't start, because Rene had not smoked in 35 years. And it's still, it still killed him. So, and it's the same with Leonard Nimoy. He hadn't smoked in decades, still died of lung cancer. So it can still get you even if you quit. So don't start. But this one really got to me because he's not the first Star Trek actor that has passed away in the last 10, 15 years or so. But he's the first main cast member of a show that came out in my generation, because I wasn't around when the original series was on originally. I came along Next Generation, Deep Space Nine, stuff like that. This is the first one of those actors that has passed. And so yeah, we all felt sadness when DeForest Kelley died, when James Doohan died, and Leonard Nimoy and everything. But this one kind of hit me because this is somebody that I was watching on TV when I was growing up. But give you guys a chance to say what you want to say about Rene.
I was deferring to Rick. Who first?
Usually you throw it to one of us. So I was waiting for.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Whoever wants to jump in, go ahead.
All right. Like you, Sean, I was kind of taken aback by this. I have a soft spot for Rene Auberjonois, and it's weird because when I first saw him in DS9, I knew him as Clayton from Benson. And he even said that, like, the last line of the What We Left Behind documentary, at least now, it won't read my tombstone, best known for playing Clayton Endicott III. And my wife still called him Clayton. Oh, that's the show with Donkey Boy. She calls Nog Donkey Boy and Odo Clayton. I don't know why. But anyway, so that's Donkey Boy and Clayton. And those are the two that have passed, unfortunately. But just getting to watch him in that show, I thought he was such a terrific actor. And he did so much with so little. He couldn't really have very many facial expressions, especially as the show progressed. His makeup progressed to the point where he was less expressive than he was in the first couple of seasons. Like, the makeup got heavier. And what really, though, put him over the top for me was I do a local radio show here on Long Island called Destinies. And the host of that show, his name is Howard, and he ran a story called The Last of the Deliverers, which was an old science fiction story. I don't know who wrote it, but Rene Auberjonois narrated it. And he was so good at the narration that I fell in love with the guy. And it was always like a secret fantasy of mine to have Rene Auberjonois do the voice for like an audiobook for like one of my books or one of my stories. And sadly, now that can never happen. But yeah, I posted on my Facebook page that I think we'd lost one of the greats. And it's too bad. I think he left us too soon. He had a lot more good stuff in him.
Yeah, I too knew him as Benson before anything else, or as Clayton from Benson. He wasn't Benson. That was another guy with an unpronounceable last name.
Robert Guillaume.
Guillaume, yes. He's gone too, isn't he?
Yeah, he's been gone for about 10 years, I think.
Yeah, he passed away a while ago. Yeah, it's funny, in this age of the internet where you know about everything that's going on to everyone all the time, it came as a complete blindside when he passed away.
Yeah, I didn't even know he was sick.
I didn't either. It was kind of like with Alan Rickman, and I think it's telling that the families of celebrities are now actively putting up firewalls to protect their loved ones when they get sick. which I totally support. And I don't in any way criticize them for that, but it does make it harder on the fans when you don't know. Like when Gene Roddenberry died, I was working on a show in San Antonio, Texas, and we were working like 14, 15, 16-hour days. And I wasn't near, any news source. So if there had been any news that Roddenberry was sick, I didn't hear it. And I found out about it at 7:30 in the morning at the bus stop with a bunch of my colleagues, none of whom knew I was a Star Trek fan. And one of them was reading a USA Today and went, oh, look, that Star Trek guy kicked the bucket. And, and it was like, a kick to the head.
Yeah.
This wasn't that bad because, not trying to make light of it, but we're hitting that point in history where the stars we grew up with are getting to the age where there's just a lot of them are passing away now. And Auberjonois was just the latest in 3 or 4, and a couple of, we will talk about the other most prominent one in a few minutes. But especially having seen What We Left Behind, he really seems like he was one of the biggest supporters of the show, and one of the nicest supporters of the show. As far as if you, I love how angry Armin Shimmerman is about DS9 and about the reception of it. You watch the documentary, watch any interviews with him, and he's just like, "Fuck all of you, we were great, and you're now finally figuring that out." And Auberjonois was just always so sweet and welcoming and I think he seemed truly amazed and grateful, which always endears a star to me. I loved his performance. I loved Odo, but I hated the character, if that makes any sense, because the Odo, the way he was handled in the writing always drove me crazy, because Star Trek, usually with the exception of like Q, tries to stay away from magic, and Odo really came too close to magic for me as far as what he could do and how he interacted with his environment and stuff. But the performance was so amazing, and like you said, Chris, his prosthetic. If you watch What We Left Behind, they really they wanted to do multi-piece prosthetics on him, appliances, so that he could emote more. But he grew so tired of sitting in the makeup chair. He's like, he asked them, "Can you just make this a mask that I can pull? We can put on in the morning and we just pull it off at night." And they went, "Well, it won't be as expressive." He's like, "Fuck it, do it." Sorry, I'm being a potty mouth tonight. And that's what they did. So the Odo face was literally a mask, so it didn't have as much movement because it was all one piece. They just put it on and take it off, and yet he managed to do so much with that. It's John.
Hi.
Despite
Hi, John.
essentially wearing, like a Freddy, a Michael Myers mask, for all intents and purposes, that was just glued to his face more. And the stories, by hour 10, 11, 12, he could have quite a temper, and, who could blame the dude? But, Nana Visitor would tell stories of him just totally losing his shit, and then like 5 minutes later coming back and just be totally cool and stuff. And he just sounded like such a sweet guy, such a wonderful person. I have not heard anyone say they had a bad experience with him at a con. What can you say? He was just totally professional, an amazing performer in what I thought was kind of a cheesy character, but he made it amazing. And yes, passed away way too young, and it's a very, very sad story.
Yeah, he was definitely, we talk about Doug Jones when we're reviewing Discovery episodes, and how well he's able to show emotions through all that makeup, even though his face doesn't really move a lot. You can see it in his eyes, and Rene did that as well, I think. John, we're talking about Rene Auberjonois. You have anything you want to say about him?
Just thought he was awesome. These segments always make me sad when our beloved actors or people associated with the shows or whatever we're reviewing pass away. So it was not like I didn't join late to miss it on purpose. But if I
Oh
had missed
yeah,
it,
yeah.
it would have been fine. But
Um,
yeah, but yeah, I mean,
79 is not
one of my
terrible though. I mean,
one
that's
of my favorite characters, one of my favorite actors from the show, from all the shows.
Yeah, 79's a good run. I mean, that's not
yeah,
I'll be happy if I see 79.
yeah,
To
yeah.
be honest.